My name is Bill Baker. I'm a professor of management communication over in the Marriott School in the Department of Organizational Leadership and Strategy, and I teach business communication. I teach about half undergraduate students and half graduate students. One of the things that happened to me some years ago that helped change my thinking a lot was someone suggested that we ought to focus more on what the students are learning than what we are teaching. And I think if you approach preparation for a course and each individual class from that standpoint, the focus then is on those students and less on me, and then you can think about different methods that will increase learning. And people do learn better when they're involved. I can't think of a subject where that would not apply. If I'm more actively involved in searching out, seeking, discussing, analyzing, applying, as opposed to just sitting and listening with my mind wandering all over the place, I can't think of a single subject that would not lend itself to a more active kind of learning. Now I focus more on what the students are going to do and what they're going to learn, on the outcome of their activity. I will still have a bit of information I need to cover, but that will take a smaller chunk in the class. And then I will have materials to give to the students where they're going to apply the things they have learned. And so it changes the preparation in quite a major way. Is it more difficult, easier? It still requires a lot of preparation. But it's just different, and it's more focused on the students rather than focused on me. Collaborative learning creates a more active learning environment. Students without collaborative learning just work on their own. They can work in their apartments late at night or whatever they want, but when you pull students together in a combined effort, then you get them talking with each other and sharing ideas and helping each other solve problems. And the overall atmosphere of the class is such that they come in, they're happy, they're chatting with each other, and you know, they really do enjoy working together. They become very good friends. I have them sit together. We form these teams on about the third day of the semester, and I have them sit together the rest of the semester. And they become very, very good friends as this is going on. At the beginning of the semester, we do a grammar review for about 3 weeks. And so students complete reading assignments on their own. They come to class, I give them a practice quiz, which they take on their own. And then they get together with their team, and they go through each of the items with their team to try to get agreement on each of those items. Where there is disagreement, then they work with each other and teach each other where someone has missed a particular item. So that's one thing. Another thing, we have them conduct job interviews, and so they'll interview each other and give feedback to each other as they go around the group. They enjoy that. That's a very practical experience for them. And then throughout the semester, they'll also give peer feedback on different assignments. So they'll come to class, exchange documents, go through each other's papers, and then give feedback, helpful suggestions on how those documents could be improved. The capstone experience of the course, I give them what I call a living case, where they have to go online and study and analyze the complaints filed against a particular major company. They have to then come up with recommendations. They analyze those complaints, classify them into different categories, and come up with recommendations for how that particular firm should improve in these areas where the complaints are most frequently given. This is a major project, and it involves the entire group. If one person doesn't come through, that particular assignment is not going to go well. So they conduct that analysis, perform the analysis, and then they have to write a full-blown business report They then have to stand up and give a lengthy team oral presentation, complete with Q&A at the end, and then they also have to develop a professional handout that is well designed to give to the people who are listening to their presentation. So it's a very comprehensive assignment. Gets them involved in project management and writing proposals and taking an idea from the beginning clear through to the end, where they have some very professional outputs. My students today are taking more responsibility than they did in years past, probably for two reasons. One, I've gotten a little smarter about the fact that I have to require students to read. I give quizzes now virtually every time there's a reading assignment. As short and concise as the reading materials are, students have a lot going on, and they're still prone to forego the reading unless I check up on them. So that's one thing I do. And those are not horrible quizzes. They're just short little reading things, so they're relatively painless, but they can be painful if they don't come prepared. But then the other thing, when they are working together with their teams, they know it's going to be a small group. They can't hide in the classroom of 30 students. They're going to be working in a team of 4, and they know they need to be prepared so they're not being a drag on their small group. There's definitely a greater sense of accountability here. And so I wouldn't go back to the straight lecture solo learning at this point for anything. Collaborative learning has been very well received by students. It results in active learning rather than just passively sitting there while the professor lectures. At the end of every semester, I ask students to identify the 2 or 3 things that have been most helpful to them in the semester. And every time the teamwork, the collaborative learning comes out number 1, way ahead of everything else. In fact, last winter semester, the top 3 items on that list were all things that involved collaborative learning. I try not to lecture much at all. I try to change methods a lot, so there are not long periods of information dumping. And I try to help students learn the material, the key things that they need to know, and then give them activities to apply what they've learned. And then I go around and answer questions and work with them in small group situations. But a lot of the time, I'm just staying out of the way. I guess I try to see myself more as a learning facilitator rather than a lecturer.